y'all, happy March and happy Monday. Well, welcome back. So I apologize for not having a video for you last week. I really wanted to share my planting experience with you like I typically do, but this time not so much. I really wanted to put a lot of effort into planting, and I'm gonna try and show you my little planner that I made today. But I've got a big tour that I'm sharing with you, and it's also what you can plant this month. So lots of exciting stuff going on today. But I do apologize because I decided that I really wanted to plant by myself, and it was kind of a multi-phase thing. I didn't even have the girls help me. It was more like that first year that I planted by myself in, I think, like 2018 or something. But I'm pretty much planted. I've got a couple of bags to fill up, and I've got a couple of things to put in those, and some of the things that I'm going to put in at the end of the March, like okra. But otherwise, I'm pretty stoked because for some reason in my mind, I kept thinking that the end of February was the end of March, and so I kept feeling like I needed to rush. But then I realized that it's really the end of February, and so I am so far ahead on my garden. So please, Lord, let me have some tomatoes this year. That's all I want, really. But I've got some exciting things in my garden. I think I've done a really good job of planning it out this year. So what you're gonna see today is lots of not seeds come up yet, but it's going to give you an idea, and then over the next couple weeks it's going to be exciting to see all these things come up as we share new and fun tips as we go into the next growing season. So let's go check out my tour. Let's check out what you can plant this month, and I hope you're planting and happy like me. Spring planting is upon us, so what you can plant in March is pretty fun. We can still do globe and Jerusalem artichoke. We can do basil, not so much from seed maybe, but mostly want to bring in transplants now. As far as beans, we can come in with a black eye, lima, green snap, pinto, soy, and yard long. We've got our last chance for beets. We can put in more carrots through the end of April. Time to put in all kinds of corn, cucumbers or median cucumbers, eggplant by transplant, jicama, melons. You can do honeydew, cantaloupe. Then with onions, we can do the green onions and the multiplier. Peppers from transplant. You got a last chance at planting some potatoes. Time to put in your sweet potato transplants. And we can also start putting out our pumpkins. More radishes through April. You can now plant your winter squash along with your summer squash. Sunflowers, tomatoes, and tomatillas from transplant. Time to put out your okra. And it's time to plant peanuts. We can also put out transplants of lavender, mint, sage, and thyme. And this is kind of the last chance for these particular herbs, so grab them while you can. To start my tour, I really kind of wanted to start where my view is, because this is where I hang out on the patio, and this is where I look at my garden, and this is where I think and contemplate about what I'm gonna do, and this is where I also just jump up and run around from constantly because I see stuff I want to do. Now let's take a look around my garden. It's pretty shady over here right now, but you can see I've trimmed up this tree for the year, and I took all my okra buckets and well, not all of them, almost all but two, and I dumped them here in this bed, and I created kind of like a levee that I'm actually really totally in love with. Looks like I might have it. Nope, that's on top. So I planted some pumpkins over here, seeds over here with loofah in between, and then this is a pumpkin that I got in the seed swap from Leslie. So this one is kind of taking a little beat down from adjusting, but I'm getting new growth in here, and believe it or not, the sun actually hits this spot for a little bit of the day. But as time goes on, this is going to get more and more sun, so I'm not so worried about it now. So our plan is as the pumpkins grow out, we've still got the cattle panel that used to sit over here. So we're gonna make it go this way. So everything that vines out of here will grow up and over like that. So that's the plan for over here. Now let's check out what's going on in the rest of the garden. Lots of new stuff. I wanted to plant with you guys last week, but at the same time, I wanted to do it. I wanted to play my music and I wanted to get out here in the vibe of it. So that's what I did. Okay, so over here in the sandbox, which is one of the shadiest, naturally shady spots in my yard during the summer, I'm conditioning some bales. So I'm on about day 8 of conditioning. So this is the part where I've reduced the amount of nitrogen that I'm applying, and we've just got about 2 more days of nitrogen, and then we're gonna go to adding a fertilizer and then a cool down phase. So it should be ready to plant in about another week and a half. But that's one project that we've got going on. Now, if you remember last year, all along here we had bushy calendula, and I was reminding my husband last night that I didn't intentionally plant any of this calendula. This is from seeds that dropped when I was harvesting seeds last year. So I'm loving calendula because you can just always count on it to show up early and make you feel awesome about your garden. Now this is a huge pile of dirt because I need about that soil that we made, because I need about 4 more bags to complete my scenario, which I'll show you here in a minute, but that's what that is. Now here's a big calendula, and over here our strawberry bed is actually pretty happy. Now these over here that get the shadiest spot, not so great, but the other bare roots that we put in are doing well, and the plants that we had from last year are really showing out and getting happy. They're throwing off runners, and I'm about to top this bed out with some castings and fresh compost, and then we're going to start our new cycle of fertilizing here in the next week or so. So over here, super bushed out with the calendula, but looking beautiful. Now I've moved a lot of things around. Like I've moved my peppers up here. Sweet peas are still hanging in there, making the sweetest peas I've ever had. But the peppers I'm positioning here to be like a base kind of backup to shade the bale a little bit as the things on the bale are coming up. This is the last of the broccoli that I have. I know I said I love this and I wanted to save seed from it, but when I looked at the tag, it's actually a hybrid. You don't want to be saving seed from hybrid plants because typically they won't even germinate. So those all got hacked. This is that awesome shard that used to sit over here. So these, if it looks like it has nothing in it, it has seeds in it. This little baby tomato's doing good. Garlic's loving life. Carrots are finally happy. I brought some more petunias into the garden because this baby showboat just makes life so happy. So I got some white ones and I got some pink ones. Still got spinach growing over there. Now, over here, I don't know if I shared, but for Christmas, one of the gifts I got from my husband were some potato bags. So this is a pretty common method for planting potatoes, is to, start real shallow in the bag, put about 1 inch of soil on top of your potato buds, and then as they grow up, you just keep adding soil and we'll be able to lift the sides of the bag up to make it taller and taller. So I found potato starts at Summer Winds. So finally found those, so get them there. Now this bed, obviously because it's covered in tulle, has been seeded out like crazy. Radishes are really making a show. They probably got another week till we can pop those up. I also interplanted a bunch of radish in there. Along here I've got a lot of beans planted, and over there along with some melons. Now my bale was looking great. I decided to even it up some because, it was sinking a little bit over there. We put this board in, and then I topped off the bale with castings and then compost. And you can't see it, but there's tons of seeds planted in there. I've got All kinds of melons coming up to climb on the trellises, along with cucumbers. Then I've got Egyptian spinach planted, and basil. I also got some multiplier onions in here. These tomato starts have finally settled in, so they're doing great. I'm ready to start loving life. This right here, the lavender, has just become the ultimate bee sanctuary, and it smells amazing. So I really got to get out here and start picking these, because it's one of those things where the more you pick it, the more you're gonna get. So loving my lavender. And this is a lavender that we picked up at the farmer's market last year, right when the pandemic was just about to start. So that is especially special to us, having this beautiful huge plant that just came from a little start. We got more carrots over here, plantings back here, Armenian cucumbers, a couple more tomatoes that I've picked up. This is the Black Beauty that I got from Leslie, and it's getting ready to make flowers. I love the height, I love the size, so I'm not plucking flowers. This one kicked out flowers, but I'm not loving the size yet. I'm wanting to get bigger, so I've picked the flowers off of it. Got a little bit of kale going back there. There's the broccoli graveyard, and this we're loving the wicking system over here. It's doing great. The pepper loves it. The pepper looks a little in right now because it acts that way when the sun comes out. Let's see. Over here, I cut and harvested all the celery, and I made some celery sticks. I put up some for celery for stock, to make stock, and then I chopped up some to put into soups or to put into a smoothie. So that's how I used all the celery that was in this bed. Now I'm finally getting the little seedlings coming up. This is a purple basil. I don't know if you can see that. This is a large leaf basil. I've interplanted, that's cilantro over there, and there's dill over there. This is the volunteer that is, I'm finally letting her keep her flowers because I've been pinching them off all along. And I've got multiplier red onions interplanted in here. And in this bed, this is one I bought from Summer Winds, but it's really happy and well adjusted now. Lots of my green nebula onions are coming in, and I planted a lot of red multiplier onions that you can get right now at Summer Winds along with the potatoes. It's not easy to see right now, but I've got some fig babies over here. These were fig cuttings that I got from Michaela at our seed swap. So I'm just keeping them over here, a little bit of shade, a little bit of sun, keeping them moist and waiting for them to wake up. Leslie might kick me in the teeth for this, but I really wasn't ready to use 2 of these tomato plants that I got from her at the swap. So I cut them off and I put them in water to reroot them so that when my bales are ready, I can put them over there in my bales. And this really only had like a little bit of a leaf when I cut these off, and now it's just growing on its own, so I'm letting it. Over here I've got some tomatoes that oh look, here here are the cuttings that I took off of Leslie's plants over there. So see, they're rooting up, and in another week or so when the bale's ready, these will be totally ready to go into the bale. And so I got to use the plant, and these had gotten kind of leggy and long, and that was another challenge for me. So that's another reason why I cut them off. And now I'm still gonna get to use the plant, enjoy the plant, and they're the age of the original plant, so it's not like a brand new plant. Now these are some that I picked up from a friend of mine from Instagram, and we got a container this weekend to put the dragon fruit in, and I'm probably going to try and film us creating a trellis like the epic gardener does, Kevin. We're going to kind of try and mimic that to get this planted, and then I'm going to put this up front by the front door. So that's what we've got going on in the greenhouse, and that's what's going on in my garden. Now, I know I used to just draw this out and scribble it, but this year I really wanted to dial in to my system, and I don't know if you know, but I do graphic design work a lot in what I do for my work. So it was really easy for me to design this and make it and revamp it a couple of times. So this is the bulk of my garden. This is the raised bed. These are the bales. These are where the trellises come over. Help me really decide what areas were I going to make things climb, because last year over here I had things that were way too big growing in the bales, so it shaded a bunch of things. So this year I'm taking anything big and I'm putting it back here, like zucchinis, yellow squash, big bushy plants in bags in the back row of my garden. Everything that's in these are mostly going to be vining, except I'm going to stick a random tomato in the middle of there just for crazy fun. And then over here, if I lift this up, is what I've got going on over here with the pumpkins. This is by the pool. These are all the pumpkins that I have growing. This is the kiddie pool closest to the greenhouse. This is the one on beside it, obviously. This is where the garden fits in. And then this is the kiddie pool that I used to have sweet potatoes in. I didn't take you over there because it really looks like nothing. But I'm starting a succession planting of black-seeded Simpson and a lettuce mescaline mix. And then so in 10 days I'll go and plant another row. So this bed's actually got a volunteer lettuce growing out the side of it from last year. So that's why I know that even though this is super shady, it's gonna bear well for these lettuces, and these types of lettuces do well in the heat. So that's also why I feel good about growing them even though they're not on the schedule. And then this is the bale, and I know it's gonna have a lot of tomatoes, but I'm also gonna fill it out, because if we were standing behind the bales, this would be looking out into the garden, and I want a lot of things to vine out into the sandbox and onto the, you know, the cool dirt. So this is the plan, and I'm excited to see what happens. So just remember, for years I scribbled this out on my notepads, and if you don't have a way to make one of these things, just draw it and get yourself a plan. And this is my key too, because it's got symbols that tell me when I planted it. It's got notes to tell me stuff I still need to plant. So I hope you think my little grid is cool. Well, thanks so much for tuning in with us whenever you get a chance. I hope that you are finding everything you need to get planting. If you haven't found everything that you need and you're looking for some extra love in your garden this year, I really want to encourage you to come over and join my Facebook group. It's APM Seed Swap Garden Group, and I'll try and put a link down below, but we're really loving life over there. I love that everybody is sharing and caring. If somebody needs something, everybody's jumping in to see how they can help. Everybody's sharing what's going on, showing pictures, and for me that's the coolest, is that I'm getting to see pictures of what you guys are doing in short videos, and that just thrills me to pieces, that you're taking little bits of information or inspiration that you got from me and you're creating your own magical gardens and your own amazing world. So I hope you have the best day ever. I hope you're stoked to start all your planting, and that you get out there and get as much as you can done before the race to the heat comes. And I'm thinking that's going to be the very end of April. So let's get going.